listening to The Night Shift. Luca here on CJRU 1280 AM in Toronto, CJUM 101.5 in Winnipeg, Manitoba. I am chatting with someone who I've been wanting to chat with for many, many moons. A band of road warriors who have traversed the globe, who create very noisy avant-garage punk. For me, it throws me back to listening to Martin Streek on the Edge in the Taco Bell parking lot in Woodbridge. The music is very anthemic, assertive. It is screaming to be played to a packed, sweaty Horseshoe, to a ravenous crowd. The early tunes were party, rockin', synthy jams. But with this last release, The Ends, the band has taken a more aggressive turn, a more serious turn, I would say. But if you are down with the sounds of Death from Above 1979, Gorillaz, Idols, Arctic Monkeys, The Carps, Deers, Controller, TV on the Radio, the Yeas, I think you would be very much down and in tune with the vibes of the Ooohh, Baby, Gimme Mores, the OBGMS. I'm chatting with the legend, Neptune's finest, Densil McFarlane. How are you doing?
I am shocked and appalled that you know so much about us. It's how I'm doing.
This is important stuff. This is serious Toronto music knowledge.
No, you mentioned Neptune, which is where I'm from, and I appreciate that because that's something I hold near and dear to my heart. And all the bands that you use to describe us are bands that I actually love. So I appreciate that as well. Like in my formative years of actually learning about music, Death from Above, Yes, the Deers. I mean, those are the bands I was listening to a lot. Control was sick. I appreciate this right off the bat. Thank you.
Thank you, my friend. You know, going back to 2009's Interchorus, which I think that was just the end of the decade where the two-person band was just so essential and great. And I think it worked. Like I've read in interviews past that when you go back to that album, you're like, this is shit. But, you know, people should still listen to it. People should still listen to it because it really works. And essentially, honestly, I think it still works in today's age. I think it's needed. I think just the spirit and energy of this group across your timeline is still so imperative. I feel like the OBGMs, that's always been a priority, subconsciously, consciously. So listening to an album like The Ends is just so damn refreshing. And I know that before the release, before kind of working on the album, you're hit with this kind of paradox, if you will, where you want to take some time off, where you were just kind of maybe frustrated with the world and maybe frustrated with the band's sound, and which led you to kind of take maybe a slightly different direction when it came to The Ends. And I'm just curious if there are any specific albums, any songs or artists that kind of lit a fire under you.
I would say there are a few artists that really kind of changed my perspective on music. One, not even just for music, but just for what he was doing and how committed he was, is Daniel G. Wilson from the band Joncro, Toronto-based band.
Love him. Played on my show. Sorry to interrupt. Played him on my show last week. Love that group.
That's awesome, man. Because I can't say it enough. I've been saying it the whole year, but like right when I was like, maybe I'm not good at music. Maybe it's just not working. I was just going to shows by myself, and I stumbled into this show, and I saw what he was doing with his festival, Lingua Franca. And I was like, this is amazing. There's a whole community of people of color that are getting together and trying to build something to bring recognition to other looking type of people doing this rock stuff. And I was like, I'm sitting on my hands, not doing anything, not contributing to this. Well, this guy is doing this by himself. I'm a loser. I need to help. And so he's literally probably one of the first, like, when I was like, oh man, this guy's doing something amazing, and I need to try to step up because I've been in this longer, and me not doing anything isn't making an impact at all. So that's definitely the first person I would look to. Pup, like Stephen Babcock, all the guys, like that's just a band that just oozes hard work. Like I was having a hard time writing songs, and because I was super insecure about sharing them with people. And the producer that we worked with for The Ends, right before we actually started recording The Ends or knew really what it was, sent some demos off to Steph, and it's like, hey, maybe you want to get an opportunity to work with somebody else to flesh out some of your ideas. And I've never really worked with anybody ever. So I was like super scared about it. But what he did was he changed my complete direction and thought process on songwriting. And I really, really appreciate it. When I used to write songs, I used to spend the 5 minutes to write the songs and it would never change after that. But Steph would grant me the opportunity to be like, hey, have you tried this melody in your song? Have you tried this melody in your song? Have you tried this? To really push the boundaries of what I was actually writing. And that just, I never really thought of it. Like I thought I already had the song in that was 5 minutes, you know? So it definitely motivated me to do some different things, try some new things. Who else? Troy Irons is a great artist, probably my favorite artist in the world. She is based out of Las Vegas right now. Amazing singer, amazing person. Spotify tells me that I only listen to her. So that's pretty much, those are probably the 3 artists that like really helped me through this, the dark ages, the ages of where I couldn't write anything.
Touching on specifically Lingua Franca and that festival, I wanted to take a step back and just kind of maybe explore the interactions that the OBGMs have had with similarly spirited festivals and organizations. Just going back to the Rock Noir events.
Wow. Wow. You've done research.
I try.
Wow. Yeah, man, we're trying to build something in Toronto. Great friends of ours had a festival called Rock Noir, short-lived, but great idea to build something with people of color in the Toronto community that are doing alternative music. It's a tough period of time because right now, just to bring it to relevance today we have, over the past year, a lot of people have had like a recognition as to Black people existing, you know, but in music, unfortunately, Black people are often treated as a monolith. So when you think of a Black person, or when Black people are often thought of, they're thought of for R&B and hip hop pioneers. So when awards organizations or streaming partners or whoever is looking to make a contribution to Black culture, Black music, when Black people even themselves are talking about the history of Black music, Black people, they aren't often thinking about the people with guitars. They're not thinking about rock music. They're not thinking about our contributions to rock music and soul. And organizations like Rock Noir, Afropunk, and champions like Daniel G. Wilson for a festival Lingua Franca help break those barriers and remind people that, hey, we're not a monolith. We do a bunch of different things. And it's time to start giving us some recognition for what we do. If you're an organization that's looking to support and uplift Black people or people of color, then hey, guess what? Know that we're not just rappers. Know that we're not just rapping. And I love rappers and rapping, but I'm just not that. I got to give a shout out to the guys from Rock Noir because they were probably one of the only ones doing it back then, like 10 years ago. And Afropunk has really been a great supporter of us in our careers. Some of our greatest shows we've ever played. The first opportunities to really play internationally was with Afropunk. And I want to contribute in some way, shape, fashion, or form outside of our music to help build the scene for Canada, build recognition for people of color doing alternative music, and got to keep on doing that.
I love to hear that. That sounds amazing. Touching on a group specifically within Toronto, and we can take this to eventually circle to the remix tape, the remix EP, which was just released. But just experiences remixing Abstract Random back in the day, your collaborations with 88 Days of Fortune, which was, it's changed into what we now know as Heart Lake Records, and it's just an amazing force. But yeah, just the group's kind of interactions with that group and that environment and community. And just that crazy video that you guys filmed for the for that remix project.
Yeah, wow. Um, 88 days, man. That brings me way back. Sun and Ayo Leilani, Witch Prophet. Now, some of the most positive people I know. Every time I'm around Sun, and I haven't talked to her like a lot one on one, but she's just filled with energy like the sun. It's just hard to not feel feel loved around those people. I have nothing but great things to say about them. And like back on the scene, back in like the mid 2000s and late 2000s, that was the community for the weirdos. That was us. It's 88 Days of Fortune. We were the black band in Toronto for the young up and comers. There weren't a lot of us that looked like us around, and like that was the community. So like that's where we played. We played with them. We played around them. Like the whole community was kind of built there, and we were building something cool, but we just didn't know what we were doing. Like we just knew that it was cool, and like with my 2021 vision, I wish that there was maybe somebody older that was connected to the music industry, could provide some guidance on building something special and something sustaining. Music is kind of different because it's taught to us to be viewed in silos. I'm in the OBGMs. I am promoting the OBGMs. My social media is about the OBGMs, and that's what I will talk today about the OBGMs. But it's just so much bigger than any individual band. Like bands come and go, but like you want to inspire people. I personally want to inspire people forever. If I could talk to my old self, I would have talked to everybody else back then and been like, hey, we're building a scene in which hundreds of people are gathering around this because they love this community. How do we stay a community? Like, how do we uplift each other? How do we make sure we're connected to each other? So this is a legitimate thing. And unfortunately, that's something that Toronto lacks, because everybody's in their own individual silos. But hopefully, I, I can do my part to change that.
You ever feel, and whenever I've listened to the group, even throughout its different kind of incarnations sonically, do you ever feel that the OBGMs would have been better suited to build their brand, to build music in the UK?
So I have this conversation with myself regularly, even when I was gonna quit music a few years back. Uh, uh, Toronto doesn't understand us. Canada doesn't understand us. Pockets in the United States won't understand us. If I was the same person, even back as a two-piece, when we were a two-piece, doing the same exact things, choosing the same exact path in another part of the world, let's call it anywhere in the UK, or let's call it LA or New York, I am confident we would have already been at the success that we deserve, period. It is. Unfortunately, Toronto isn't built to support individuals. It's built to sustain after that individual's already become successful. And that's kind of how it is, unfortunately. If we were already in the UK, we probably would have already been the biggest band in the world already. I would have already had my meltdown a long time ago because I was so big. As opposed to the meltdown because we're not big enough. So I do think, unfortunately, in my Canadian vision, in my Toronto vision, I feel like other parts of the world are a little bit more supportive in music, and there's a better path to success in other parts of the world, unfortunately.
It's in Toronto, a very commercial radio mindset.
100%, absolutely. And if we're going to look at commercial radio, and I hate to call it out, but I will.
Please do.
But I will. Yeah, because it's like this. Radio, from a person I've only worked in community radio for a couple of years, but like let's call commercial radio. Radio is based off of people listening, and it is funded by the ability for people to listen. That's one of the things. And the music that is funneled towards it. A lot of that music can be from major labels or whatever. It's funded by that, ad buys and all that type of stuff. Ultimately, a radio station's motivation is to make sure somebody does not turn the dial. If you have an hour show, you're wanting your listeners to listen to it for the whole hour. You don't have a lot of opportunities for them to click away because you lose money every second they click away, they turn away. So when you're in a business that is based off of those things, you're probably going to want to, or what's happening, I don't know if you want to, but a lot of people have made the decision to make sure they're connecting with hits that people have heard before because they are more likely to be connected and stay dialed in. Unfortunately, what that actually creates is a systemic issue that unfortunately, let's just call it what it is. It doesn't assist in the uplifting of anybody that doesn't look like a white suburban male. And it just happens to be like that.
Or to touch on what you were saying before, or anything that falls out of what we perceive to be an R&B artist or a hip hop artist.
That's it. Then, like, just to correct myself, like, when it comes to alternative music, hip hop has plenty of representation for Black people. We are in it. We are all up in it, you know, because that's what sells, right? Like, we know that I can fund this particular artist because it gives me a particular type of sound that I know people are more likely to listen to when they hear it. So I'm going to supply that because I do believe the demand is there. And if the demand isn't there, there's a bunch of other things that are like that. So the market is there. So it makes sense. But an artist like myself, who creates off-center music that doesn't sound like a lot of other bands at all, that doesn't look like a lot of other bands at all, it's hard to take that risk when you're in it for money. It's hard to take that risk because you only have this amount of time to invest in something. And unfortunately, that's what the systemic issue is. Like, people aren't investing in alternative artists that look differently, in my opinion. As a person that's been in a band for 13 years, I think I have a good sample size of this, and it'll be interesting to see how it changes. A lot of people have pledged to make changes, and that's interesting to me. But what does a change mean, and how often, and how regular, and how are we gonna monitor this in the future? You know, hopefully that answers whatever the question was. I kind of started on my ramble.
Hey, ranted, baby. I don't even remember what the question was, but I like where you went with it because. But I think the sad thing is that commercial radio is not going to change.
It's great. It is amazing to me.
Like
that, like, if I'm just going to talk about myself, like, because I went through a huge bitter time. We had this conversation like 2 months ago. You've been talking to angrier me, but so, it's like, it's crazy to me that someone can listen to a band like the OBGMs, hear the album that we did, and in a decision maker can hear that and not want to support that and not want to push that. It baffles my mind. I can't understand it. Maybe I'm too close to it, but my heroes like my music. So why wouldn't a decision maker like my music if my heroes like my music? Stefan from Pup loves my music. Fucking Billy Talent loves our music. Like, if these guys have resumes filled with good music, I'm assuming that other people would like our music as well. Our songs aren't that long. You should play them. You know, so it is what it is, though. Ultimately, what that forces an artist to do is to build a community. My focus is away from radio. My focus is away from DSPs. I know we need them eventually, but they'll come when you have the community. So my focus is directly on the community and building it for not only ourselves, but for the artists 10 to 15 years from now that can actually get in without this as an obstacle.
Just a quick shout out again to the 88 Days of Fortune crew of old. Lots of love, and obviously lots of love to Heart Lake Records. Looking into the world of the Outset tape, my favorite song on this album, collaborating again, Cola's on it, but you mentioned I think off air Oxymorons, Femdots on side B, Claremont II. Just the inspiration behind this remix EP.
That particular song was my favorite song on the album. Like, it also has the best moments that I remember of recording a record. What happened was like Shipman, I brought in my friend to play bongos. Nobody believed that he was good, but then he went in there and he killed it. and it made Shipman change one of our arrangements on the fly, and drop in the drums right on the first start of the first verse, and everybody kind of just stood around, looked at each other, and gave the stank face, right? So, and I was like, and then he said, "That's how you start a record." I was like, "Well, obviously that's track one now." Obviously that's track one now. And I went back and I rewrote a lot of the songs because I was like, we have a vibe now. I feel this now. I feel something. We all feel the energy in the room. This is it. We've done it now. Rewrote Cash. Rewrote. You probably can even, if people listening, they probably could guess which songs I went back and I rewrote right after that. You'll probably be right. I never knew anything about rock. I never grew up listening to rock. I discovered it when I wanted to start a band. I probably started listening to it the year before we started making a band. So I didn't have the same teachers. Kurt Cobain wasn't my teacher. Like I didn't learn any of that. I went into this not knowing anything. Flipping, Chris Cross was my teacher. You know what I mean? DMX and Tupac were my teachers when I learned rock. And so that's why I sound like this and he sounds like that. So it's going to be impossible for anybody really to sound like us because I don't have any rock influences like that. not really. Like I don't know their albums. I don't know their best singles. I barely know some of the song names. Like I don't really know it like that. And when I make albums, I don't even listen to rock. I listen to trap. so I try not to listen to even anything that could possibly influence me to make something that sounds like that because I want to sound different. And it's a gift and a curse to be different because unfortunately when you're different, they don't know where to place you. In a playlist, if they're going to play our song and then they're going to have pup songs in a punk playlist, when you're going to a punk playlist, you're not looking for the OBGMs. You're not looking for somebody that sounds like us. You're looking for somebody that sounds like pup. You know? So the people that stay, that's awesome, but like it's not really built for that. It's not really built for the way it is, different-ish, unfortunately. But there are times that it hits, you know, White Stripes, they did something weird and it hit for them. I don't know if there's been a band that has hit as different as them anytime recently, but I'm also not the best person to ask for that. I just know that there's no band that sounds anything like us, and like the Ends, I feel is the album of the year. It's the best album. It's the most original album. Come on. Come on.
You know, to touch on that, just, you know, I love how you really, really champion your group like no other. I want to touch on that, but I want to touch on that a little later. I just want to reference back to, you know, the teachers that you described, those teaching, those educative albums.
Yep.
And I know you're a big sports fan.
Yes.
And we'll get into that because I have that addiction as well.
Yes.
But I'm just curious in terms of those big albums for you, Master P's, No Limit Soldiers. Do you remember?
What is happening?
And I only bring this up because the Royal Rumble just happened. Do you remember when they were a wrestling stable in WCW?
Absolutely. The No Limit Soldiers?
With the heart punch? Wow. I think it was Swole who had the heart punch finisher, which is the stupidest wrestling finisher ever.
Oh, there's a few dumb ones. There's a few dumb ones. Definitely one of them for sure. It's not the coolest one, like the, you know, Shawn Michaels, you know, Sweet Chin music is the coolest one, obviously.
So shout outs to No Limit Soldiers, Master P, shout outs to the OBGMs. You are listening to The Night Shift, CJRU, 1280 AM in Toronto, CJUM 101.5. Luca here chatting with Densil, who is playing with the OBGMs, the Wavelength 21, the big winter festival that's going down. You guys are playing February 26th with Kali Horse. It's going to be a great event. Find out more information at wavelengthmusic.ca. I do want to reference a past song, the great King Stay the King, a song about probably the greatest television series, definitely the greatest drama on television, The Wire, a song about Stringer Bell. Just if you could make an impassioned plea to the world who hasn't embraced this show, what would you say to any fans out there who are curious about jumping into The Wire?
Wow. If somebody hasn't watched The Wire already, what is up with you? That's my first thing. That's the first thing I got to say with you. It's there's something in every single one of our albums, or a lyric from every one of our albums has something to do with The Wire. It's just a real show that's filled with poetry, and it's like the poetry of real life, the poetry of real life moments. I can't speak enough about how much I've loved that show. I've watched it maybe like 11 times in full, including season 2. You got to watch it.
I think it's great. That's amazing that you reference that, because people always talk season 2. It's a great season. For me, I think the last season is maybe the weakest, but it's still really good.
Absolutely. I think season 3 is my personal favorite. Season 2 is important because you need to understand that the game doesn't just happen in the hood. We have to figure out there's a game above the game. There's a game in the game. I forget what the quote is. Jesus. I'm ashamed of myself. But like, you need to understand how everything gets there. You need to understand the other situations that other people that aren't from the inner city are getting into, to help that this is how the system goes. This is how everything is conducted. And like, it's not just selling drugs and killing people. There's different parts of the game. There's different avenues of the game that all have to be considered, that are all still dramatic and real. Ugh, such a beautiful, beautiful show. Every show has a quotable that you can apply to your real life if you're questioning it at any point in time.
I would say also, if you have the heart, if you have the big enough heart, because it's gonna break your heart a lot of times. Like, it's the only show I watch where I see an actor on TV. Like, I'll see Michael B. Jordan in a movie, and I'll be like, oh my
Wallace,
God.
Where's
Exactly.
Wallace?
Exactly.
Where's
I'm just
Wallace?
like, oh my God.
He's still Wallace.
Yeah,
he
same
is
here.
Still Wallace. I don't care if he might end up being the new Black Panther. All right, he'll still be Wallace. Wallace is gonna be the new Black Panther. So like, I don't know. It's amazing how big he got now, though. It gives me he's such a skinny kid in The Wire, he's a huge man. Very, very happy. Anytime I see any of the characters from The Wire, I'm automatically happy again, because I like seeing them do well. Like Michael K. Williams, Omar. He's still Omar to me.
But he is, he's a special actor, because he is so unbelievably brilliant. Just to touch on your poetry comment, he is a poet when it comes to watching him on the big screen. Love him. Not enough words I can say about that gentleman. Brilliant.
Yeah, I agree.
So to move from the very eloquent to the very emotional tissue of The Wire, another quote of yours that I love. We are like the Steph Curry of this rock. Is it true that you were a 2-time 3-point contest champion?
Jesus Christ. I was, all right, because I'm wet from 3, and it's just I'm a bucket. Let's just call it what it is. I'm a bucket. So if people are gonna really leave me at the 3-point line, I'm probably shooting 40%. Up until, and it embarrasses me still to this day, even though it's so long ago, until grade 11, I thought I was going to the NBA. Like, I'm going to go to the NBA because I'm so good at basketball, but I didn't realize that there's a whole different league if you were actually really, really good that you should be playing in. And I would have never been able to survive in that. I love basketball, man. I love it. Real threes. Anytime the dude from Arcade Fire wants the ball, I'm ready. I'm ready. I used to play ball with Max from Arkells way back when in the days. And that guy got a real jump shot. It's for real. He will cross you over. He's a real baller, probably still is. But I challenge them all, and I'll win. And that's how I feel.
That is amazing. I also came upon the fact that for a team that you played for, you wore the number 99. That is cocky as hell.
Player 99. It's real. It's real. It's player 99, bro. Like, it is what it is.
That is so funny.
Wow.
if you're listening to this interview right now, you might kind of perceive it as a podcast. You know, podcasting is this new thing that some people are trying. So, you know, you might find one here or there. There is an OBGM podcast. Why should folks be diving into this?
It's funny, man.
Yeah.
It's literally funny. It's a joke. It's funny. Like, you know, artists nowadays have to kind of show you who they are. And I think that's kind of just the best way to really dig deep into like our personalities as a group and a unit, because we're three distinctly different people with three different takes on things. And with that being said, we know how to have a good time. Like, so it's literally spent with our hot takes on a lot of different things, from music to relationships. And you're going to leave with a laugh. That's what I could say. I think it's a must listen to. The Steph Curry of podcasts, I would say.
I'd like to maybe one day be known as the Wally Zerbiak of Canadian music interviewers.
It means you're a beautiful man that is the most clutch as well.
Oh boy. Folks out there, you are listening to the Night Shift, CJRU 1280 AM in Toronto, CJUM 101.5 in Winnipeg, chatting with Sir Good Lovin', aka Densil McFarlane of the OBGMS, playing February 26th for the Wavelength Winter Festival alongside Cali Horse. Just during this whole time, you know, you're obviously super, super tight with the rest of the group, Cola and Joe. You know, music is obviously being digested and taken in so many different ways during this this pandemic. Are there any things that you guys are really kind of connecting heavily over that are really musically are bonding over?
It's interesting, man. Like, I feel this year we've got tighter as a unit. It's tough because we're like brothers, you know. I can say I've personally had issues with like expressing myself, just in general in life. Like, I had a hard time. I used to have a really hard time expressing like my emotion, like what I was thinking. Anytime I was angry, I would just keep that within. Anytime I was frustrated about whatever particular situation, I'm a little bit of a control freak. So instead of like inviting people into what's going on in my mind, I would just do everything. This year, like, we actually talked more. Like, we talk all the time. We talk about what's going on in our lives. We talk about like what motivates us. We talk about our faults, and it's great because, like, you know, the pandemic has been horrible for all of us. Like, I think it really messed up our careers, to be honest. There are a lot of blessings in it for us, as like a unit. We are way closer now. We are way more engaged now. I picked up a few skills along the way during the pandemic, and like, we're using them all the time. It's just a great feel right now, you know. And like, working in a band with people that are all on the same page is the easiest thing you possibly can do, because it's not always like that. They're all different personalities. You're all different walks of life. You all have different motivators and attributes, and not all of them are used all the time. And but like, we still keep it going. It's an interesting dish. It's I didn't know that it would work, but it does, you know. Like, it just works.
That's a beautiful thing. Yeah, they seem like really fantastic dudes, and it's a nice tight ship. If you don't mind me asking, but what happened with Gem?
I don't mind, because it's all love between the OBGM's camp and Gem camp. But I'll be completely real, and I thought about this throughout this year. That around the time that, like in 2018, in our last tour, our last European tour at least, like, when I got back from that tour, I just wasn't really happy with like some of the interactions I had with the band, and Cola wasn't even there. So I was like, why am I even doing this? So I took a whole year off, and I had to decide, am I going to do the OBGMs anymore, or am I just going to change how this works? And I made the decision to be like, okay, it's not working because there's too many chefs in the kitchen. Me and Gem would often have a lot of friction during the songwriting process. And at that time, uh, so I just made the easy decision to be like, okay, there's too much cooks in this kitchen. I'm clearly not using you to your full potential, so I think it'd just be best for you to kind of be a solo artist. But I thought about that this year in like a lot of discoveries of myself, which was like the only reason that relationship didn't work was because of me. I wasn't capable of understanding how to use one of the best musicians in the world. Jem is one of the best musicians in the world. He can play anything. He can do anything by ear. He can read music. He has a good ear. He just needs like a little bit of direction. And unfortunately, the way I work is the way I worked at the time is I didn't really provide directions. I just want to know what's good, and it just wouldn't mesh. If this was the same, if I was the same me as I was now as I was back then, I would probably find a way to make it work. But I do feel like this decision was the best for every single one. He's such a major talent. Every time I talk to him, I'm like, I want to see you be the piano player for all Canada. If anybody's ever reaching out for any type of music that needs piano, why wouldn't it be Jem? He's the most talented. he's actually the most talented. It's incredible. Yeah, man. Like I got to we keep in touch from time to time. I got to help him out with his grant that he got out. I don't know if it's public knowledge, but he got a grant. I got to be a part of helping him get that grant.
That's amazing.
You know, and I want to be able to help him in any way, shape, fashion, or form. I see big things for him if he wants it. And that's if anybody really wants it. You know, you gotta have it's hard. Music is hard, and you have to stay motivated all the time. So if he wants it, he can have it.
Music is extremely hard. And I think that, you know, despite the trials and tribulations that your group has gone through, I think you set an amazing example about the effort that is needed to put into it. Because again, you know, you guys have been at it for so long, and it's just so dang impressive that you're still kicking ass and really, really pushing the limits and just covering different layers of this group. You know, if there's anyone out there that you want to kind of shout out, any organizations or bands that need the love, please let me know. Let the world know who needs that extra layer of love.
Wow. I'm going to go ahead and make a shameless plug is I'm going to be launching an organization aimed at uplifting Black, Indigenous, and people of color through artists. So throughout the pandemic, I knew that we weren't going to be playing shows this year or 2020 and probably not 2021 either. So I taught myself how to edit videos.
Hold on. Is this Burn Industry?
Burn Industry, baby. That's me.
Okay.
So I knew that we weren't going to be able to do it. So I was like, how am I going to amplify voices, not only mine, but like everybody's, because like nobody's able to get, not everybody's plugged in to get grants or greenlit for grants and yada, 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 but they still have all these things they need to do, but nobody to help them do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, anybody that needs it, that I can manage, like I'll just do your video for you for like free or cheap or whatever it is. I don't want to be in debt for it. You know, I'll help you with your grant writing. I'll provide you whatever connections I have. And my only ask is that you pay that forward. So I want to, like I spend a large part of the year and I will spend a large part of my life just connecting people. I want to be a connector of people, like publicly and more behind the scenes. I want things to be happening that I've assisted in helping with that I don't have to talk about, but they are happening because I've contributed to. And that's what Burn Industry is about. Like, it's just about not needing the industry, but creating our own community and ecosystem to just kind of thrive. But in terms of artists, man, I have a new favorite artist right now. Her name is Ashley Shatze, Schattze, Ashley with two E's, Shatze. I don't think I've been as excited for new music in a long time. She's just an incredible artist based out of Oshawa. And I just think she's cool. Like when I heard her song for the first time, I had to spam her Instagram and get on a call with her to be like, how do I help you realize this? Whatever you need. Like, how do we get you to whatever you need? Because you're young now. You don't have to wait 13 years to make all the same mistakes that we did. You know, you can just bypass that. Like right now, I'll tell you what to avoid. You know, I'll tell you some stuff that won't work for you, that didn't work for us at least. So she's great. Oxymorons, obviously, they're the homies. They're just really, really great artists, great people. They've connected with us off behind the scenes on a lot of cool little things, you know, that are happening that we can't talk about yet. That are really cool though. They're really, really, really cool. Things are happening behind the scenes right now that like have like, and they literally just happened last week or were confirmed last week. But like they let me know that I'm doing the right things and it's happening. It's happening. See Troubles. I just did a video for them, and it's really good. I'm getting pretty good at this video. Joncro, you know, but outside of rock, you know, like just shout out to your independent artists like the Claremont II. Claremont II motivated me to be a better me. I watched this young man grow up. I've known him since he was 4, but I get lessons from him. He's taught me about things about myself and about music that I wasn't capable of understanding because unfortunately I was too close to it, you know, and that only happens with a certain level of clarity and understanding that the youth have. So big ups, got a shout out to him. He's my favorite artist in the world.
Lots of love, Claremont II. And for anyone traveling near Oshawa into the Durham region, this is just a random plug, but please do check out Samosa Hut in Ajax.
My family's from Ajax. I'll check it out. I've never been there.
If you I love spicy food, so if you're a big spice food fan, check it out.
I'm with it. If I don't like it, I'm going to message you.
Please do. Please do. Speaking of independence and just independent spots, like this place had random people from different backgrounds just waiting in a line outside of this place to get their fix of extremely spicy food and really nice samosas as well. Shout out to you, my friend. You are a Neptune legend. I have one last question. Random, super random. Will we ever see a live performance again of Don't Be Stoosh on the dance floor?
My band asked me that. You'll never see that play again. I honestly, if we ever play that again, it will be the last time we actually play a show ever. And honestly, like no disrespect to Joe, I would only play it with Cola on the stage because that's the first song we ever wrote. So like that's the first song we ever wrote. That's the day after our real guitar player left the band, actually good guitar player left the band. And I put the bass down because I wasn't good at it. We did that song, you know. So I would have to bring it back to like the actual roots of the band. Like that would be the last song I played on a stage for the last time. So I don't plan on stopping anytime soon. I think 2022 is probably going to be the year where people realize, oh snap, the OBGMs are now metric. But like 2021 is going to be a good year too. A lot of cool things are happening behind the scenes.
I love to hear that. I wish you and yours all the best. And where can folks find more information on the OBGMs, burn industry? Let the folks know.
Yeah, so the OBGMs are at the OBGMS on everything. The OBGMs is the band name. That's not the OBGYNs. That's not any other type of variation. It's not the OBGM. There is an S and there's no apostrophe, okay? So the OBGMS, and we are the OBGMS, and everything else is burn.industry, and that's just my personal project. I'm using just to uplift any talent, connect any people I can, and that will be actually officially launching March 1st of this year. So you'll see what I've been cooking up over the last like year.
Thank you, my friend Densil McFarlane, aka Big D of the OBGMs. Sir, thank you so much.
Hold on, I need to know how to find you so I can stalk you this time.
Yeah, pure stalking.
Like we've done a lot of interviews this year. Like that was the most fun. It wasn't even close. It was.
Appreciate that. That means a lot, man. Yeah, no,
it was,
you've done a just because researching, just going through old like podcasts that you've done this year. Holy cow.
a little bit, man, but like that one was impressive. Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it, bro.
Yeah. And yeah, to you out there, you are listening to The Night Shift, CJRU 1280 AM in Toronto, CJUM 101.5 in Winnipeg. For more information on the show, check me out at The Night Shift TO, Twitter, and Mixcloud, Capone, Luca on Instagram. But yeah, all the best, my friend.
Thank you so much.